Most quietly wealthy people I know don't look like what you'd expect. I'm talking about people who can buy expensive things but choose to drive a reliable 10-year-old car, who can afford designer everything but shop at the dollar stores, or who have built financial security but you'd never guess it by looking at them. In this video, I'm sharing 7 habits of the quietly wealthy. Shh. Simple habits that most people probably overlook, but that could make a real difference in building your financial confidence. Starting with number 1, quietly wealthy people take advantage of automated systems. People who are consistently building wealth often set up systems that work for them in the background. Instead of having to remember every single paycheck to transfer money to savings or transfer money to this account, they make sure all those things are set up to work over and over again so they don't have to think about it every single month or bi-weekly with their paycheck. Personally, I started doing this several years ago when I first started earning a consistent income. Literally, the first month I tried to manually do it myself, I forgot by the second month. So once I finally logged into my online accounts, set up these auto transfers to happen every single month right when I got paid, I was able to build my savings and my emergency fund to over $20,000 in less than a year. And according to the US Fed, people who always have money left over are 6 times more likely to have emergency savings than those who never do. But quickly, let's break down why setting up an automated money system can have a great effect on your wealth building. If you had to manually move money every single month, I would constantly find excuses. Like, this month we have a wedding to go to, or Christmas is coming up. Maybe I'll just skip saving this month so that we can have more gifts. If you leave it up to chance, then there's always going to be a reason to delay your savings. So here's the thing, when you do that, you're risking that voice in your head saying, maybe I'll just save next month. But of course, that month of saving never comes, and we're left to our own willpower to make sure we're saving money every single month, but of course something will always happen. So if you're thinking about automating your money system, just start off small. You can begin with $50 to $100 to go straight into your savings right when you get paid, so you don't have to think about it and it's out of sight, out of mind. It's like if we checked our bank accounts and we saw money in our checking, obviously that money is easy to be spent, but if we send that money off to a separate savings account, we don't have access to it anymore, and it makes it just a little bit more inconvenient to spend. Number 2, the quietly wealthy focus on value over price. You see, quietly wealthy people often have an interesting relationship with spending. They're not necessarily cheap, but they give consideration to where their money goes. For example, splurging on a pair of boots that can last 10 years instead of buying a pair of name brand shoes that can fall apart in 6 months could be the smarter option. Or a quietly wealthy person would purchase an older model car with high reliability instead of choosing to finance a brand new one that depreciates in value quickly and might not be made as well. Personally, I learned this lesson the hard way when I was in college. I was obviously trying to be as frugal as possible, and I bought the cheapest version of everything you can imagine. Unfortunately, those cheap things that I thought was a good deal ended up being a bad deal because they would not last, and I would end up having to pay more to replace certain things like t-shirts and even shoes. So although wealthy people do have frugal habits, which of course is great if you're building your initial savings or trying to pay off debt, it's important to intentionally spend money on things that will last so that you will truly save money in the long run. A great way you can gauge what a smart intentional purchase is by focusing on the cost per use. A $200 jacket that you can wear for 5 years provides more value and has more cost per use than a $50 jacket that you barely wear and that will fall apart after a season. Habit 3, net worth, not just income. We have this funny culture in our society where our income is like a status symbol to show how successful you are. But income alone is not a good gauge to see how well you're doing financially. Here's something to think about. If person A earns $100,000 a year and spends all of it, leaving only 2% towards savings, then person B, who earns $50,000 but saves 15% of it, will be doing better financially than person A. People who are quietly wealthy are not afraid to see their entire financial picture, seeing what they own and subtracting what they owe. On social media, we see a lot of people flexing their high incomes or showing off their cool gadgets and cars and houses that they own, but that still gives us zero indication on their liabilities or the things that they owe, but we still don't get a true picture of their financial position because I don't know how much debt they have on that cool car they have or how much liabilities are truly built into their financial picture. So if you truly want to see how financially secure you are, one great way you can do that is by finding out your net worth. And the reason I'm calling out people who might have a high income or appear wealthy but in reality might have a low net worth is isn't a way to compare ourselves, but it's just a way to help you understand that we don't see everyone's full story. The most important financial story is your own. So looking at your net worth instead of just focusing on your income can give you the awareness you need in order to make the best financial decisions for you. For example, if you are in a debt payoff stage and you are throwing the rest of your cash towards your credit cards, I know it feels like your money's just going into the void, but in reality, by decreasing your liabilities, you're actually increasing your net worth. And sometimes knowing your net worth might make you think twice about purchasing that depreciating asset, and it might make more sense for you to throw money towards your debt. Habit 4, think long term. Here's something I've noticed. Quietly wealthy people often play a different time game. While most people are stressed about this month's budget or next month's expenses, these people are thinking about where they want to be in 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years. They understand that building financial security takes time, and they might be happy to live modestly now because they understand that money saved today could be worth more in the future. And yeah, it does sound like another boomer piece of advice to save while you're young so that you can flourish later on in your life. Because yes, even in your early 20s, it feels like saving for retirement is pointless, but in reality, you are taking advantage of the greatest asset you truly do have, which is the time. And if you think about it, years and decades are going to pass anyways, so might as well have some money stashed away growing for you, so by the time you do hit the inevitable age of 40 or 50, you'll have a bunch of wealth stacked up because you decided to play the long game. And this whole principle of thinking long term doesn't just apply to retirement. For example, my wife and I are currently saving up for a house, so of course we need a big old down payment, and obviously we're not just going to cough up that cash once the time comes. It has to be something we break down and slowly save up for over a couple years. So just like in habit 1, we decided to automate a transfer to go into a separate savings account which is dedicated towards our future down payments. So instead of just crossing our fingers and hoping we have enough for our down payment when the time comes, we're being proactive by playing the long game and setting up this down payment over time. Habit 5, quietly wealthy people diversify. It's not uncommon that a wealthy person has multiple streams of income, but I'm not limiting diversification to just streams of income. Nor am I only focusing on investments as a place for diversification. The pattern I've seen amongst people who are quietly wealthy are that they have diversified so many different aspects of their life, including but not limited to their skills. They don't just put all their eggs into one basket in terms of skills, they're always trying to learn new things, and they also diversify their network. They don't just associate with one specific clique where they stop learning, they decide to go out and network, meet new people, meet other people in the industry so that they can continue to open opportunities for themselves, as well as learn new skills from people who have done it and are experts in certain things. I'm gonna hop off my soapbox for a second here, but personally, for me, it helped a lot to diversify my skills and my network once I left college. Heck, I even did it while I was in college. This has allowed me to open up so many career opportunities, so many chances to increase my income, and so many ways to learn more about my particular industry, which is finance. And of course, diversifying your network and your streams of income isn't just limited to the finance and business world. This could apply to healthcare, to engineering, to computer science, and to a job like teaching. There is a tangible peace of mind that comes from having options outside of just the one thing that you're doing right now. Even for me in my own life, I know I can take risks because I don't just have one skill in one thing, and I don't just know one person in one industry. I have multiple skills and I know multiple people in multiple industries, so that now I'm not just putting all my eggs in one basket. All right, I think that's an overused term, but it is so true. Habit 6, lifestyle creep. Obviously, a quietly wealthy person is already focused on growing their income and making as much money as possible, but there is also the other side of the equation. How much money are we spending? Unfortunately, for most people, when they start earning more money, their expenses go right up with it. But in the case of a quietly wealthy person, they continue to keep the same lifestyle and avoid that lifestyle creep. It's simple math. When we increase our income or our inputs and we have the same output, then obviously we're gonna have more margin left to go towards our other goals, like paying off debt, saving for retirement, or going towards other fun purchases. And I'll be honest here, this is probably easier said than done, but let me know in the comments, what are some ways that you've kept your lifestyle the same, even though your income has grown over the years? I'd love to hear from you guys because this channel is all about community and helping each other along the way. Habit 7, the quietly wealthy respond rather than react. react. Financially confident people often don't just react, they take time to respond thoughtfully. They have the flexibility mentally, emotionally, and financially to adapt when they need to because they're probably not trying to impress anyone. Focusing on their long-term financial game plan gives them the stability to handle challenges better. I experienced this during the pandemic, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well. When everything was uncertain, my first instinct was to panic. But then I remembered seeing how financially confident people take on these challenges. They take a step back, assess the situation, and make thoughtful decisions. At the time, I was an intern for a financial advising firm, and I remembered all those advisors were having to hop on calls with their clients just to tell them to relax and to not react impulsively. And literally, just by taking a step back to assess the full situation and by responding rather than reacting, that could save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars of heartache in the long run. It's a real thing, and I think a lot of us can benefit from learning from each other. And honestly, that kind of mindset can help us with our normal purchasing habits. If we decide to sleep on something before we purchase something impulsively, we'll probably realize we don't actually need that thing. So by continuing to learn from other quietly wealthy people, we're gonna increase the margin in our life. We're gonna have more money to do what we want to do. And in order to create a plan for that extra money, you need to create a budget. That's why in this next video, I went through some of the top budgeting methods and I break them down for you. So give it a click and decide which one is best for you. I'll see you guys in there.